So if you haven't heard, we were in California.
And we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to another Wind Down Wednesday, but also just more of a guess what, we went to California and we're going to tell you guys about it because it was a ton of fun. I'm Sam.
I'm Heather.
And yeah, that's what we're going to dive into today. We were out in California, what's going to be 2 weeks ago.
5 days-ish.
Really?
Yeah, 5.
Week and a half. So we came back on Tuesday.
No. Week and a half implies over 7 days.
Yeah, because 7 days ago we got home. You started 7 days ago.
Oh, I was saying how long we were there.
Oh, no, I was saying how long ago.
Oh.
Before we dive into that, we do have this lovely rosé that we are sipping on.
Shockingly not a California product. Currently all of our California wines that we acquired are in the mail. Since our California wine is in Wisconsin, we are drinking a Wisconsin rosé.
It's Blanc de Marquette, so it's their Marquette grape come from Door 44, and they just made it into a rosé. Oof, and it is fantastic. So that's what we're going to be sipping on today, but let's dive into the California trip.
So we started out by going directly to Japantown. There was some construction that we didn't initially know about. I feel like it would be really cool to see when the construction is done. The parts that were not under construction were still fantastic. Sushi was incredible.
Yeah, we walked around for a while first while we were waiting on her brother to get there, and it's just such a cute little spot. I mean,
Adorable.
Any of the little towns, like Little Japan, Little Italy, Chinatown, all these spots are obviously tourist traps, but also really just nice areas to go like walk around, check out things.
I think oftentimes, just given San Francisco's history, like I think lots of those places in San Francisco seem very authentic.
Yeah.
Because there was like a heavy like influence of immigration historically in San Francisco, I think.
I mean, they literally have Angel Island there.
Yes,
so.
That's true.
So we started off there, got some really good sushi. We got a lot of really good food, just having seafood, like fresh seafood. We don't get that in the Midwest, so we were just going in on all of the fresh seafood and did not regret any of it. But we did that, and then we went to our Airbnb, just kind of hung out for the first day, didn't really do anything too crazy, just because we had basically been up since what would have been like 1 a.m. California time. And then her parents had just gotten in that evening, so we really didn't do anything crazy. But on our first day, I guess,
we got over 20,000 steps in.
Yeah, so we started by taking the ferry. We were actually staying across the bay. So we took the ferry across and just walked basically, not all of San Francisco, but a good chunk of it.
Solid portion.
Yeah. Got some really good walking in. We went and saw this interesting little area that I guess is like Salesforce's garden, park, whatever.
They own like 4 blocks, essentially, and built a garden that is like 2 stories above ground level.
So we walked around up there at first, and that was a ton of fun. It's really interesting, and I'd like to go see like little events or anything that they would have there. But really cool spot, and I'm like, if I ever was working in San Francisco, that would be the spot I would go to. We had a goal in mind, and the goal in mind was to reach, well, a couple of goals, but the main goal for the morning was to reach the Irish coffee from Buena Vista Cafe. From where we were to where Buena Vista was probably about 4 miles.
It was a lot. I don't know. We took some stops, though, on the way. We stopped at Chinatown.
Stopped at Chinatown for a little bit to kind of check some things out. But then we stopped in Little Italy.
Square before we got to Chinatown. That was pretty...
Oh, yeah. I don't remember what it was called. Little Plaza. We didn't take any pictures
plaza. There. Chinatown, Little Italy.
Yeah, we stopped in Little Italy, got some really good coffee and some good pastries, and then made our way over to Buena Vista.
Some gelato.
Hey, you did get gelato, didn't you? But when we got to Buena Vista, so they are known for their Irish coffee. Now, if you don't know what Irish coffee basically is, it's coffee, Irish whiskey, and then cream. That's essentially it. And they have these really like pretty glasses that they put it in. So this was a ton of fun to like go experience this. But for me, I've had Irish coffees. I make them all the time. It was a little lacking for the coffee.
The coffee that they used was very basic. I think then it came across more as perhaps like a whiskey cocktail that has coffee. Versus, I think traditionally when you would make Irish coffees, it comes across as a coffee that also has whiskey.
This is where we got a lot more walking in. So we wanted just to check out all the little fun shops and everything in Fisherman's Wharf. And we ended up stumbling across a vintage arcade.
Which was so much fun. You had to like pay with quarters to like do the games. They had a Pac-Man game that I thought was really fun.
Side note, Heather's really good at Pac-Man.
We all have our secrets.
So we hung out there for a little bit, and then we continued to walk down the piers, and one of the big things is going to see all the sea lions and the seals that were there. They are so loud. It is insane. And there's basically one giant dock that you will see, and they built this dock for the seals so that they would stop
people
climbing on the
boats. People don't use it. It's so the seals stay off the things people do use.
Our next stop was also a ton of fun. We went over to the Exploratorium.
Yes, adult night. So imagine a children's museum, but for adults. It was like 7 sections. The outdoor section was closed when we were there. But, section 1 was about like self and psychology. So they had a bunch of different kind of interactive displays that you could do. They also had ones related to physics, other sciences, biology.
Yeah. Then they had a ton more things that we could go look at. We didn't have enough time.
We didn't even finish it. I could have been locked in there for 24 hours and been happy.
They were
also serving wine.
Yes, they were serving wine.
And beer. So this is where we started the day by doing a hike up to Twin Peaks. We did not start at the base of the mountain. We drove up to the mountain and then walked to the lake.
I do have to say.
Couple feet. Not couple feet, but like.
But once we got up there, the views were gorgeous.
Incredible. We got to see the Golden Gate Bridge. I also learned of something. Apparently the fog that surrounds the Golden Gate has a name, and his name's Carl with a K. So we got to see Carl.
It was interesting seeing how, if you just looked out towards the water, it was just clouds. Mm-hmm. Everything else was clear, and then it was just clouds and fog out that way. Continued on. I'm trying to think, what did we end up doing next?
The Golden Gate Park.
Yes, we went over to Golden Gate Park, and this was honestly a lot of fun, just kind of walking around.
I could have also been at this park all day.
Checking out all the little art exhibits that they have out. The next day, we were heading up to Sonoma. So I'd reach out to a ton of my friends in Slick Squad and ask, hey guys, what do you recommend? And they gave us a couple different wineries that we need to check out. First one was Kundi. This is going to be our first stop.
They're very pet friendly. So we were traveling with 2 dogs. One was a little old lady and the other was a puppy. I think she's like 2 or 3 years old, but like still puppy mindset. They'll probably be in the videos and pictures you'll see.
Yep.
So if you are traveling at all with pets or visiting with pets, they're very pet friendly here.
But we ended up doing a tasting there and found some really, really fantastic wines that they had. This is, again, our first time to California. So you'd be like, oh, well, all of the California wines are going to be great. They had a lot of good ones. They also had some that were just like, it's just okay.
Yeah, I thought the one that stood out to me the most was that they said that their Sauvignon Blanc was Sonoma style, which I previously hadn't heard about. But we ended up buying a bottle. It had notes of grapefruit primarily, and then maybe a little bit of an apricot note. And there was not any taste of the grassiness that's normally in a Sauvignon Blanc.
It was
so
quite
I thought
delightful.
That was really unique. I previously hadn't heard of a like Sonoma style Sauvignon Blanc.
I'm trying to think of, they had a Syrah.
Oh,
the Syrah that they
beautiful.
had was fantastic. I really love Syrahs. I like it when it's just that deep, leathery, drying, like heavy tannins. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy that. This was like that, except there was like this dark chocolate note and this coffee note on it as well. And I really, really enjoyed that. One that caught you off guard was their Chardonnay.
Yeah, it's a toasted barrel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's funny because I previously made a video of how I don't really like oat Chardonnay, but maybe I need to make a redaction because I like toasted oak barrel Chardonnay, which is crazy. It didn't have any notes of that butteriness to it. I don't even remember.
The heavy flavor actually was not a bright pineapple, but there was a pineapple flavor in it, which was interesting
like
also because you don't like pineapple.
It wasn't strong pineapple. It was really crisp and clean.
Still a nice full-bodied wine, though.
Yeah, I was very shocked. She was like, "Oh, do you want to try Chardonnay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't actually really like them." And she's like, "Ours is in a toasted barrel, so it tastes different than other Chardonnays." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I'll try a little." And then I was like, "Oh, this is
We
really
also bought a
good."
bottle of that.
So yeah, that one really like blew me away. I had no idea.
Yeah, that one was extremely surprising. But from there, we ended up going to Ridge Valley. I really need to stop saying "but" and then doing my transitions. I apologize for that. So we went up to Ridge Valley, and this was the one that I spent a little bit more money on the tour.
This was their Lytton location. They have 2 locations.
For this one, it was like $60 a person, and it was fantastic. It was extremely informative. It was super interesting, and the wines that they had everyone taste at the very end were honestly really good. They did kind of air on all Zinfandel style blends from this location, which was very interesting.
Yeah, it's actually a relatively old vineyard. So this was my first time being on a winery tour where we actually went out in the field and saw the actual grapevines and talked a lot about the horticulture of maintaining the vines. There'll be video of us riding around in, I don't know, it's like an extended golf course cabbie thing.
Yeah.
So that way we all fit. This one the dogs were not allowed at. And it was just crazy seeing these vines that were Zinfandels that were over 100 years old. And talking about how do you maintain vines like this? How do you, they had organic grape growing practices. So how do you not use pesticides and still get a healthy yield? And it was just absolutely fascinating, everything they did. And their fields were organized in what they called...
It's a field blend.
An Italian field blend.
Oh yeah, just general field blend though.
Yes.
So what a field blend essentially is what they would do like in Italy or in France. You go and you plant whatever percentage you need for that style of wine you want to make. You plant it in one block and then you harvest that all together and then you go.
There are people like go through and actually map on the property with dots, like each of the different variety, like grapevine.
So there's a picture of this. You'll see each one of those little dots is an actual grapevine within that block. So they know right here we have a Semillon, right here we have a Syrah, right here we have a Zinfandel. They know exactly which ones they are, and they know, okay, cool, we're going to go just get all these together and go from there. It is awesome.
And it was really fascinating, too, because we got into a discussion about aging. So for one of their field blends, I think it was like a 5-year difference between...
Yes.
Roughly?
Yeah. It was 2016 and 2021, maybe?
I forget the exact years. I'll have to check our notes between them. But it was a 4 to 6 year difference of the same field block. Again, with their field blend process, but like roughly 5 years apart, and being able to taste that side by side, because
that was super.
I know that you can age wines, and that like wine does continue to age in the bottle, which is very different than spirits, which don't age in the bottle. But I just had never had one that was like they're like these are the same grapes, like these many years apart.
It was funny. So it very much showed what happens when you age wine. So the initial one was very light, very bright, and very fruit forward.
Fruit forward, definitely.
The aged one, the older version, was a little bit more astringent. So it had this like earthy. It's funny.
I wouldn't say astringent. Okay. It felt smoother, but earthy.
Yes. So astringent technically just means like it can be like weird to people. And the reason I say that is because there's 2 different ways you can describe this flavor. It's either forest floor or something like barnyard, or people will say, what is it? Worn horse saddle is the other fun way people like to say it. It's not a bad taste.
It's good.
Somewhat of an acquired taste, I guess you can say, similar to how some people really like IPAs and some people really don't.
Yeah.
But it has this really deep, earthy flavor to it. And that's what's going to happen typically when something ages. You're going to get that earthier flavor. That fruit was still there, and it was a little bit more rounded out, so you didn't get all of the acid in it. But it was much more earthy, which balanced out the fruits and kind of rounded out the tannins and rounded out the acidity. So I personally really loved that, but everyone else was kind of on the side of the lighter ones.
My thought of preference actually depended on what I would be eating it with or not.
That is fair.
Like, I felt like the aged one would pair better well with the steak versus the fruit-forward one would probably, like a cheese board.
I just want the aged one.
I know.
It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Both are beautiful.
But unfortunately, I didn't get to indulge that much because I was our driver. So I got to just do a little taste and spit. Had to be responsible. Anyways, really good spot. And next up, we had to go to Corbell. We had to go get
This
brandy.
was the next day.
Yes, this is the next day. Woke up. We did a little bit of other things first, didn't we? Or did we go right to Corbell? We went right to Corbell,
Our Airbnb was right near a river.
Yes. So we were in the Russian River Valley, technically.
Yes.
So we got to go to the Russian River and go play in that a little bit, let the dogs play in that.
We can insert clips of dogs running in the river.
Then we went to Corbell. And this is just a funny, stupid story if you didn't see the other video. So we saw Corbell. And I'm like, oh, hey.
That's make the brandy.
Yeah, Corbell brandy. Awesome. And then
we pull up and it says Corbell California champagne. And we're like, oh.
It's the sparkling wine. Like all of those cheap
like,
sparkling wines. I'm like, oh, great, interesting. Okay. And then we walk in and I'm like, wait, the brandy's there. So, full disclosure, it's the same company.
I had no idea my whole life. I thought Corbell champagne and Corbell brandy were just two different people named Corbell. But they're the same.
Same company. So we ended up going in there and we do a tasting and realize that they have a ton more to offer than what you will typically find.
They actually have quite a few that are exclusively sold at their winery.
Yeah.
You can't even order them if you're out of state.
You can get it if you're in California. They don't distribute it anywhere in California, but you have to order it and they'll ship it to you. They have some other stipulations with that. But we got to try some really, really good champagnes and some really good... They had some couple still wines.
California champagnes?
Yes, California champagnes.
Yes.
Which I don't understand the legal issue there.
Because they call it California champagne, not sparkling wine.
Yeah, so there has to be something that, since they have California champagne, that they're able to do that, but that is for a different video at a different time. So we ended up doing a tasting with that. They also had some really good dessert-style wines. We ended up trying a port and a sherry against each other.
I would say Salute from Stone's Throw.
I think you just have an affinity to it because you like that one so much.
Sure, okay. But, it was really good.
I think I like what they had maybe a little bit more.
Really? Wow. I tried the sherry. It was fun. I just think I like ports more.
Yeah, the sherry really didn't do it for me, but the port was very nice.
Yeah. We bought a bottle.
We also asked if we could taste their brandy because they did have some age-stated brandies. I know in another video I said it's an aged brandy. All brandy is aged, but this is age-stated. So the base Corbell is undisclosed age, but then they had a 12-year, an 18-year, and a 25-year. Her parents ended up buying the 12-year, so we got to try that while we were out there still.
And the 12-year, I thought was actually... At least in my memory, I didn't get to try them side by side. I almost like that one more than the 25. Maybe. I thought it was sweeter. I thought you still had the more fruit flavors in it. And I think I like that in the brandy. By the time you got to the 25, I think it more drinks like a whiskey drinker's brandy.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that, which makes me curious about the 18 where that would
fall.
I'm
like, the middle one.
But that was a ton of fun. We did a video.
We the middle child.
Of course. We did a video talking about that. So if you want to see that, go check out our previous video. And we kind of dive into tasting the base Corbell versus the Corbell 25. But that was a lot of fun. Just being able to experience some really good sparkling wines that you can't find really anywhere else.
Yeah. Again, you can only buy them if you're physically there.
Or if you're in California.
Yeah. But I'm not moving to California.
No, definitely not. So right next to Corbell is also this little Redwoods forest. This isn't the big one where it has the tree that you can... Yeah, you can drive through. This was Armstrong's Redwood Forest, or I think...
National Park.
Wasn't a national park.
Oh.
Armstrong's was really cool. We ended up... I had us drive all the way to the back, and we were trying to figure out where we wanted to go. And there was one hill here. And we decided, you know what, we're going to climb that.
It was just the first trail we saw. And we're like, let's go down that trail. How bad could it be? It was a half mile of vertical. I forget what elevation my watch said.
It was around 200, maybe 300 feet of elevation, over half a mile.
It was insane, but it was so beautiful. Again, could have spent all day there too.
Easily.
But at this point, I was starving, so we needed to get food.
Went to a grocery store, grabbed a couple things. We wanted to make the brandy old fashions because you have to. If you have Korbel.
You have some Wisconsin people with the Korbel brandy.
Yeah, it just has to happen. Ended up going back to the house, kind of just relaxing. Heather and I had to get up relatively early-ish to get everything ready to head out the next day. Because we had to drive all the way back down from Sonoma, drop everyone off at their Airbnb, and then go take the car back and fly back to Chicago so that we could get back down here to Cincinnati so we could start recovering, because that was a lot.
It was so much fun, though. I loved it.
It was a ton of fun getting to check out California, and I cannot wait to go back. Any thoughts on the wine?
I have thoughts, but I want to know what your thoughts are before I say my thoughts.
This is the weirdest thing. Grilled strawberries.
Okay. I couldn't tell if there was a cherry in there.
Maybe like a tart cherry.
Like a tart?
Yeah.
Like it's a very tart.
There's some acidity going on.
Yeah.
This is
so
basically
pink.
a
is like,
rosé, but it's a fruit kebab that got grilled.
Yes.
And you also had to smoke it over something. So a little bit of a earthy smoke in there.
Yeah, there's some earthiness in it.
Very interesting.
I really like it. It's probably more acidic than what I normally lean towards in a rosé.
Probably. Either way.
But very
really
beautiful.
good bottle. Really excited to dive into all the bottles that we got from California. You guys will get to see that in probably about a month from now. I'll do a big review on all of those. But until then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. You're almost to Memorial Day weekend. Cheers. I'll see you next time.